For the past 21 years, I've wholesaled real estate all over the United States, and I've combined over 3,000 total deals. And I remember the day I started to right up to right now in 2024, and I've had an incredible journey. I've done tens of $1 millions in wholesaling fees. I've owned so many different types of properties, from oceanfront to little crack houses. And what I want to do is take my 21 years experience and just shoot from the hip and teach you the lessons I've learned, the struggles I've gone through, so you can use this as a condensed version to see what a 21-year journey looks like in wholesaling. So you can learn from my mistakes, understand you're not experiencing things alone, and most importantly, become a better wholesaler. Because God knows I did everything wrong from like start to finish, but I still succeeded. And that's the point of today's video. So way back in 2003, well, if you even go back before then, I used to pick up Tony Robbins books when I was 17, 18 at garage sales, and I used to read them. And I thought it was really cool, the advice he gave. I didn't know people could think like that. And I would try it out, and the minute my family would attack me, or my friends, my neighbors, or people at school, and they're like, no, nobody does stuff like that. And I just had no conviction. I had a belief, I never had a conviction. And I didn't wake up till I was really in my early 30s. I did what everyone else taught me. I went to college, I got a good job. So I wound up working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Not a bad company. I wound up spending just over, I believe, 11 years there. And I was the guy who used to, we ran the counter, we rented the cars, we had to sell a lot of stuff that I didn't believe in. And the company made a lot of money, and I eventually worked my way up the management system, and you got a percentage of the profit. And I found out quickly, even though I had some money, I was just getting by. And for me to be free, for the people I saw that were really happy, I don't know how I was going to do it working 10, 11, 12 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. And after 11 years, I just threw in the towel. I couldn't take it. You guys already know I wasn't a great student. And so I actually showed up, and I got interested in real estate because I knew that was the path to basically getting wealthy. I just didn't know how to do it. So I initially went out when I was working, and I bought a few rental properties. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what I was thinking. So my plan was to try to buy 10 properties, pay them off in 10 years. And that's what I was going to use as retirement income as my vehicle. Didn't work out that way. When I initially bought them, we got hit with multiple hurricanes, all sorts of stuff. Tenants were a disaster. Everybody stopped paying for, I think, a year. And the hurricanes got hit back to back in Port St. Lucie. And I quickly found out that plan wasn't going to work. So what I did is, while I was working my corporate job, because I had a big fat mortgage, Zach was 3 and I just had a daughter, I said, I remember just telling my wife, I go, there's got to be a better way. And she just looked at me like, then go find it. And so I started attending Real Estate Investor Association meetings, stuff like that. And I found this thing called wholesaling. And I immediately fell in love with it. I go, my God, that sounds perfect. Now, I do come from a sales background, but I quickly learned that wholesaling really had little to do with sales. And I don't know why people keep talking about sales training with wholesaling. It's about becoming really good at marketing and becoming educated to teach people options, and most importantly, become a guide. So long story short, about 7 months into it, I replaced 1 year of my income just from my wholesaling. And that's when I decided to just pull the ripcord, and I dove all in wholesaling, all by myself, not really knowing a lot of people. And I was super excited. I didn't tell my wife at the time, but I was scared as hell. And so I dove into this, and I went into it like I was broke, and I would go out there, and I got really good at marketing. And the one skill set I will tell you in the beginning that let me survive, because I used to go through like long droughts not getting deals, or I couldn't get deals closed, is you have to be really good at marketing. You've got to figure out how to get in touch with motivated sellers, because I quickly found out I need to find people that need to sell their house. The people that want to sell their house are just a waste of my time. They are meant for realtors. And that once I determined that distinction factor right there, my wholesaling actually exploded, because I did not waste time with people on MLS unless I was direct to seller. I did work with realtors. And so let me walk you through my first deal. Actually, I have 2 first deals because they happen simultaneously. The first one, I went directly to the seller. The house is in terrible shape. It was leaking. I took it over. I believe the house had hurricane damage, and I just paid too much for it. So if you're related, you've paid too much for a contract, I am part of that club. Once you do it a few times, if you learn from it, you'll do well. If you don't learn from it, you're going to keep making that mistake. I offered too much, and you'll learn through a lot of my teachings at freewholesaling.com. They are accumulation of my mistakes, and I show you how to avoid them. So I paid too much. I scrambled like crazy cash buyers. I mean, I literally probably spent 30 hours to find a cash buyer, and I finally had one person that wanted to make an offer on it. Everybody told me I paid too much. I wound up pocketing $1,500. It was the most stressful transaction I ever did in my life, but I had a proof of concept. A week later, I was knocking on doors because I used my sales background because I didn't know how to do this business. And I knocked, I believe, on 100 different realtors' doors between phone calls and going out to the brokerages. And I found about 5 that really wanted to work with me. I sat down and trained them what I want. And one of them actually brought me a deal from her own mother. And she goes, listen, she lives down in Fort Lauderdale. And so I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, so I had a key advantage. So guys, this is why I always preach to you about using your local market. Even though I didn't understand the fundamentals of wholesaling, I didn't know how to write contracts, I knew that local market. And once she said she has got ocean access and it's a waterway, they've been in the house for 40 years. I said, let's go out and look at it. So she took me out there and looked at it, and the first thing she says, how do I get paid? And I remember going, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. Looked at the house, way outdated, rough. We came up with a number. It horrified me, but that was the best deal I was gonna get. I did do my homework and find out it was worth significantly more money, but it needed a ton of rehab. Everybody went to me, go, fix it up, Rick, you're gonna make a ton of money. I go, I don't know how to rehab. I don't have the funds. And honestly, I'm completely upside down in my finances. I can't afford to do it. So once again, I went to work with the cash buyer. I found a cash buyer, was extremely eager to buy it. And I was so excited he was buying the property. Honestly, I gave it to him too cheap. So I charged him a whopping $10,000 assignment fee. And I remember the guy's like, no problem. Didn't even offer to pay me more. I was so excited I was making 10 grand. And lo and behold, I got a $10,000 check. I showed it to my wife. She's like, wow. She goes, this really does work. So I went 1,500 to 10 grand, and I learned real quickly, I got really good at marketing. And one of the most fundamental things is you gotta become really good at marketing to motivated sellers. I find that most wholesalers, when they start out, from my experience and what I went through, is you spend too much time with people that really don't wanna sell their properties to a wholesaler. So you gotta find people that need versus want. And the sooner you do that, the better you'll do. Actually, I got so good at connecting with motivated sellers, I never learned how to do disposition. So for about the first year and a half, I kind of gave my properties away. And everybody would seek me out to buy their properties. And I finally had one of my cash buyers goes, listen, you know you're giving these things away. I'm just like, what do you mean? He goes, I just made 30 grand off of you, and I only gave you 10. So I got stuck on this 10 number. And even though I was closing a lot of deals, I was making a lot of money, I got to get better at that. So I started doing JVs. For the first year, I didn't even deal with dispositions because I didn't know how to do it. And honestly, I just didn't have time, and I didn't have the skill set or the knowledge. So I wish I would have worked with someone earlier on dispo, but I learned a hard lesson. I probably gave away $250,000 in my first year and a half. Why? Because I was learning the fundamentals of wholesaling. So if you can understand this, if you can master the marketing part, I would learn dispos, but I wouldn't over focus on dispo, because I find here in 2024, a lot of the wholesaling teaching focuses more on dispo than it does on the marketing and working with motivated sellers. And to me, you've got to master the front end. The marketing and dealing with sellers through acquisitions by building your rapport skill set, by having conversations with them, is the fundamental most important thing you can learn wholesaling. If you can learn how to talk to people and how to be authentic and connect with them, the dispo will come. Now, the reality is when we come to negotiations, I was terrible at it the first year. And honestly, that was one of my bigger problems. And I learned as I talked to more and more people, actually thousands of people, you will go through a journey in wholesaling, and it doesn't matter if you paid somebody 100 grand or you're working with me and Zach free with freewholesaling.com. The experience, the journey is something everybody has to do, regardless of your income, your education level. Wholesaling doesn't care. And if you understand that, you'll look differently at paying a guru. It's just the truth. Wholesaling is such a fundamental skill set. It's a tiny skill set. There's like 50 other options you can learn wholesaling. So if you're going to pay someone 10 grand to learn wholesaling, it's going to cost you $1 million to learn this business piece by piece. And I learned that quickly. It's like every time somebody had a secret, it'd be like stuck there. And so I went on this journey, I started doing it, and I started reaching out to gurus. And it was the same thing over and over. Everything was between 10 and 20 grand. And if I paid them, I could never look at any of their information. And then once I paid them, they'd act like they revealed me this big secret. I go, like, I already know that. Or like, hey, can you show me your business? Can you show me? And once again, crickets every time. And after about the first year and a half, I decided I'm just not going to work with gurus because it's all BS. I don't think they know any more than I did. Otherwise, they would be running a lucrative wholesaling business. And I just dove in. And I dove in quick, and I spent a lot of time. I was really good at marketing. And then once I turned on how to do direct mail, I exploded. Now, here's the crazy part is I was so good at talking sellers, and I didn't realize at the time I had ADHD, which affected a lot of decisions I made. And if I knew this beforehand, I probably would have done it differently. But I stayed in my wholesaling business as the owner operator for 7 years. It's embarrassing because honestly, after year 2, I shouldn't have been doing, I did everything. It was stressful. I didn't trust other people to do what I did. I felt like nobody could live up to my expectation. And I thought, I was grossing like 1.2 to 1.5 just in assignment fees. Now, I was taking home a lot of money, but honestly, it got way up on my neck level. So I bring in people to help me out. I had a lot of trust issues. And if you can learn from me, after you get, so the whole goal is get your first deal. That's it. Like cut through all the guru crap, everything like that, and get your first wholesaling deal. Then me and Zach teach you, once you can get to 5 wholesaling deals, you're going to probably do very well in wholesaling. Most people never get to 5. Why? Because I talk to them. You have to have a special ability and a want and a desire to succeed in wholesaling. And if you're not going to put the work in, it's not going to work for you. If someone hasn't done 5 deals, I just don't think you should be doing massive amounts of paid marketing and all that stuff. In fact, most gurus are going to teach you to use a paid marketing. Why? Because it's easy for them. I'm the complete opposite. I'm going to teach you how to go out, get government lists, get them for free. Then free doesn't mean easy. It's actually the opposite. And why do I want you to use the list? Because I found out early on they were the most motivated types of people. It was free. I had to work my butt off for it. And I cut my teeth on working with only motivated sellers, and I burnt in my mind, I know what a motivated seller is. And a lot of the teachings on the internet right now and all over is go work with realtors, go do this strategy, do anything but wholesaling. I'm the complete opposite. I take a stoic approach. Just go do it. If you can learn wholesaling as the highest single best skill set, if you don't believe me, go talk to any guru or anybody who does this business. The best ones are always wholesalers. It's just comparable to the UFC. The people that have a wrestling foundation do very good in mixed martial arts. Why? Because it's one of the hardest skill sets. It's the most exhausting. Then they add the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, the boxing, they do well. So if you want to look at it like that from a wholesaler standpoint, learn wholesaling first. Why? Because a wholesaler can go do any one of the other things, fix and flip. You can do creative financing, subject twos, lease options, anything, short sell flip, but try to take a realtor or try to take a creative guy and have them do wholesaling after the fact. They all say, no way, it's too hard to do. And this is the reason. If people are avoiding it, run to it. The harder it is, just go do it, and I've learned that. And the really cool thing about the fundamentals of wholesaling, why it rings so true to me, and I know it rings true to Zach, is wholesaling does not care about your education level, it doesn't care about your income, it doesn't care about your family, it doesn't care about your story, because you can be broke and do wholesaling. It is the only legitimate wealth vehicle. Everybody knows real estate is the key to getting wealthy. Wholesaling's been around forever. And so a lot of kids on TikTok tell us that they're looking for get rich quick schemes. Wholesaling's not a get rich quick scheme, it's get rich over the long haul, is it works. People try to do the Amazon FBO, FBA thing, whatever you call it. People try to do the Forex trading, all this other stuff. They're all mostly multi-level marketing things, and they're derived on a big fat fee, so the influencer makes the most money. If you don't believe me, go on the internet. There's people who tell high ticket sales. There's actually people who coach the coaches because they don't want to do it anymore, and it's easier to make money behind the scenes. I don't agree with any of that stuff. I'm just I believe you should be a master of your trade, and once you dominate it, then you can go out and have people partner up and help you with it, and that's why I do it. That's why I don't do coaching. I don't do one-on-one, because why would I work in my wholesaling business and make my money if I can make millions doing that as opposed to doing coaching? And the coaching models, to me, is dead in wholesaling. If you're doing a coaching model right now, or you're taking a coaching model, just understand it's not going to complete you when doing it, and I know that. So what I was getting back to is wholesaling doesn't care about any of your previous factors, but the only thing wholesaling cares about is how hard are you going to work. And it doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care if you don't show up to work. It doesn't care if it's raining. It doesn't care if your seller backed out. As much as the pros of why we do wholesaling, you've got to take the flip side. The accountability is huge, because it doesn't care about excuses, because it will eat you alive, and it will go find another wholesaler that will find deals for you. And so wholesaling is brutal, it's upfront, it's transparent, and you got to work. If you're not going to work, wholesaling won't work with you. That's why you see all these gurus coming up with all these schemes. Listen, novations they're dead, guys. It was a bad idea from the beginning. people want to mainstream creative financing with people that have absolutely no experience. It's a recipe for disaster. We teach you how to do creative financings within your wholesaling business, because creative financing people, most of them, a lot of people get attracted to a guru's course, which is great. I mean, I love the education on it. But the problem is creative financing is not for newbies that are trying to avoid wholesaling because they think it's too much work. If you think wholesaling is too much work, you're going to get killed in creative financing because you're not going to make a lot of money up front. And this is the reason why I always gravitated towards wholesaling. So the keys in the beginning is you got to master marketing and hit wholesaling head on. And I'm here to tell you, you're going to have days, you're going to have weeks, you're going to have months you don't make any money. And so when I started wholesaling, as I said, Zach was 3, over 21 years ago, and it was scary, guys. Like it was like I was so addicted to a paycheck, I didn't realize. And this is how most of the workforce is. So if you guys are getting wholesaling, you got to find some sort of transition model. I don't want you going broke, but like I do like people who go all in and commit in wholesaling. But if you have obligations, you have family, you got to take care of them. So if you got to work another job and do it, you got 24 hours in a day. Get rid of your excuses. Nobody cares about your excuses in wholesaling. What have you done for wholesaling today, and what are you going to do to move forward? You are going to have to make a sacrifice. Now, I did wholesaling. I didn't make the biggest sacrifice other than my time. And then once I started making money in wholesaling, I didn't realize what to do with money because nobody ever taught me. And it took me about 5 to 7 years to understand the difference between a liability and an asset. So real simply, your wholesaling is your job. It is your work. Now, I love wholesaling. I'll do it forever. There's a lot of people that frown upon it. It's hard. I'm going to teach you how to set up systems with it with freewholesaling.com. But the reality of wholesaling is you have to produce income. And here's the one thing I've learned in 21 years. You can't sell your wholesaling business. Sorry, guys. It's the truth. I've watched thousands of people try to do it. You are the product in your company. Anybody that tells you otherwise, once you sell the company and you're out of it, your wholesaling business model is not going to work because it's you. It's you going out there, building that rapport, building out those amazing conversations with your sellers that creates the wealth in the business. Anything outside of you, it's probably going to fall apart. Can you sell the systems? Yes, but the reality is it's probably not going to work out. In fact, everyone I've seen sell their wholesaling business has failed massively. So the real asset in wholesaling is the asset you buy with it. So take your money, live on a very, very, very tiny budget, the least amount you can. I didn't do this well in the beginning. I do it now. And then you want to invest in assets that pay you. If it's real estate, the stock market, metals, whatever it is, diversify your portfolio because that's what's going to pay you in the long run. This dream of selling your business, get rid of it. You can sell the assets. That's the value. You create value, you keep them. So I'm in the position right now where I'm buying as much as I can because I need to offset taxes. I want to get depreciation. And that's another valuable lesson learned in wholesaling. So you can sell your business, you can't. And people that sell, you can sell a coaching model, but honestly, if you take the salespeople out of it, the people that push it, sales are drastically going to drop down. And this is, I don't know why people in wholesaling think they can sell the business. I've watched it, guys, 21 years, build assets, use your company to buy that in your assets, and then your wholesaling business is don't do like I did. One of my key factors is for 7 years, I was the single operator. After 2 years, you should easily be able to build out the systems and replicate it. Now, here's the one thing learned. There's a lot of people out there who can sell you run big staff, do $10 to $20 million a year. Here's the truth in wholesaling. Pure wholesaling. I'm not talking about coaching. I'm not talking about rental portfolios, and I'm not talking about fix and flip. Those are separate businesses. A pure wholesaling model is there's very few people that ever exceed $10 million gross. Sorry. And the reality is they're going to spend half of that on marketing. And if there's 4 or 5 partners, you do the math. At the end of the day, here's what I've learned in wholesaling. The main reason I got into wholesaling was to get freedom of my time because I came from a father that didn't spend a lot of time with me and I didn't want to repeat my past mistakes. And I remember just kind of looking at what I was working. I go, this is ridiculous. I'm completely obligated 6 days a week to this company and they own me for a very small amount of money. And I thought I was making a significant amount of money, but if you break it down hourly, I've maybe made 20, 25 bucks an hour if you factored in all the time I had to do it. So the reason you get into wholesaling, your why, is more important than how much money you're going to make. Let me repeat that. Your reason why you get into wholesaling, I just wanted freedom of my time. If I could do that and earn the same amount of money, I was good as gold. So my expectations weren't crazy, but here's the really cool part. You can master freedom of your time. It doesn't mean you're going to work less. You're actually going to work more. Once you can control your time, you can spend it. I always thought I had to be super professional wholesaling, but honestly, when I had kids, they're crying in the background, screaming in the car, people actually loved it. In fact, they loved it so much. My original logos when I started wholesaling was my daddy buys houses. And so instead of running away from that, I had loud, obnoxious children, I just embraced it. And people loved the family dynamics, they loved the personal relationship, and that's what I got from it. But once I started getting freedom on my time, I could go to the kids' games, I could go to plays, we could go on trips. Then I started solving more and more problems in wholesaling, and I got really good at it. And to the point where the money just came with it. And I stopped focusing on how much money I was making, I just focused on how much better of a wholesaler I can get. I can meet with any seller, and if they have a problem, I can usually come up with a creative solution because I've had so much experience over the 21 years. In the beginning, I didn't have it. You set your expectations, go, listen, I get freedom of time, make some money, I'm gold. But by solving so many problems, I got so much more money that I didn't even think about the money anymore. In fact, it actually became second nature to helping people out. So one of my biggest tips I can give you in today's social media, I didn't have it as much as when we started out, is there's so much pressure on you guys trying to compare yourself to other wholesalers. Someone says, I did 10 deals, I did 15 deals. Stop it. Everything I talk about is about being a marathon wholesaler. You know what a sprinter looks like? They try to pace their race based on everybody else around them, and that will run you out of gas so fast in this business. The best marathon runners never look at their competition. They're only racing themselves. They race their own race, and if you try to look left and right and on the internet and social media, you're gonna wind up being a sprinter, and sprinters spend a ton of energy. They look good for a short period of time. You guys don't believe me? Go look at all your gurus, your favorite gurus from 5 to 7 years ago. They're all gone. Why? Sprinters. Sprinters look good in a season. You can look good for a mile or two. You can look good for 4 or 5 miles. But that sprinter, like a marathon runner, has their own mindset. They don't worry about anybody else. They don't worry about what other people think, which is my topic. Stop worrying what everybody thinks what you're doing. Your family's they're gonna crap on you. Your friends are gonna think you're crazy, and you're gonna do things differently. And the really cool part about it is once you start thinking differently and you don't depend on other people's thoughts, you start separating. It doesn't mean that you're going to change all your friends, but you're going to hold yourself to a higher level. And when you do that, you can fix anything. In fact, once you master on how to get the money first through your marketing skills, the second part is how to consistently keep doing it and how to bring people in your business, which we teach on how to do that. Don't do it like I did 7 years. After 2 years, you should be bringing in other people to do it. And guys, listen, how I do wholesaling is not going to be the same how everybody else does it, and that's the beauty of this business. If somebody wants to run a big operation like I was talking about earlier, 10, 12, 15 million, how much freedom of time do you have, and how happy are you? Just doing a gross number, which leads me kind of to my last point here, is it is nothing more than an ego feed. And listen, if you want to do that, then knock yourself out. But I believe you can run a tight, lean operation in 2 to 4 employees, do the whole thing virtually. Guys, I've had endless amount of offices, just a huge waste of time. Why? It's not that it was not nice to have an office, but you're always going to go out and meet with your sellers, and your office is going to become a liability. It's going to be an expense. I'd rather you spend the money towards marketing. And it's going to be your cage. And this is the same cage that I was trying to escape in 2003. And if you know that up front, why would you build another cage to go back into it? And understanding to sell your business, not going to happen. You have to collect the assets. The assets you can take anywhere with you. Guys, I'm not talking about coaching businesses. This is my problem with the industry. Coaches want to do that's fine, but most coaches won't tell you most of their income comes from coaching. Actually, probably 80%, if not 90%, comes from coaching, and that's the little known trade secret. That's why a lot of them struggle with some of their wholesaling business because they used to do it 5, 7 years ago, and now they're just full-time coaches, and it's about just driving revenue. So, lose your ego. The sooner you lose your ego, the better you're going to do. When your ego's active, you don't listen. You always have to be right, you're arrogant, and you can't learn. And if you can't learn, you can't grow. I've never been claimed to be the richest person wholesaling, but honestly, I believe I'm the happiest. Why? I have freedom on my time. I have more than enough money to pay all my bills. I've collected an immense amount of assets, and honestly, I can take trips, be happy, and do my business remotely. And that's the key things I've taken over 21 years of wholesaling. Now, once again, master marketing up front, master the fundamentals, run your own race, learn about discipline and commitment, and remember, hit wholesaling head on. And if you constantly get distracted by gurus trying to sell you the next greatest thing so you can avoid wholesaling, it's just going to frustrate you. It's going to take money out of your pocket. And I would take the stoic approach. Hit wholesaling head on. Whenever you try to go around it, it's going to create so much more work for you. It's going to create a lot of expense and aggravation, and in the end, you're always going to come back to it. I've been wholesaling for 21 years, tens of millions of dollars, 3,000 plus homes, and the main thing is I stuck with it, and I decided to be a marathon wholesaler, and I stopped looking at my sprinters to the left and right, and here I am 21 years later. I'm still in front of you. I'm right here, and I want you to take this video and learn from my mistakes and understanding you're not alone with some of the feelings that I've kind of shared with you. And I'm just a regular guy, did wholesaling, wanted to make a change and break free of the chains of like higher education is going to get me what I want. The middle class is dead, guys. You've got to make a change. If you've picked wholesaling as your path to freedom, go over to freewholesaling.com, get started today. I want to help you. Zach wants to help you. We want to see you succeed. Guys, if you like this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button so others can hear about the story and learn from it. This is Rick Ginn. I'll see you guys soon.